Hi there, brilliant people. So today's question is, how do I use my intuition in 2024? So again, obviously this is one of those questions that's quite timely. And I don't just mean that it obviously is 20 for 24. I mean the fact that, the times are quite stressful for a lot of us. They seem to be a bit chaotic. We're not quite sure what to do sometimes, or how to deal with all the things that the world seems to be throwing at us at the moment. So I just wanted to go over, these are some things, that areas or 10 ways that you really want to lean into your intuition at the moment with all the changes that are going on. So let's get into it. So the first one is, you want to lean into your intuition around work opportunities. Because as we know, the work environment for many people is changing, and for a lot of people it's changing quite a lot. And whether that's the development of AI or whether they have to work in the office or at home, it's very easy to perhaps listen to all the negative news and get down about that. And the problem is that when we get down about stuff, we're not really activating those parts of our awareness and our intuition that can stay tuned for potential opportunities that are coming up, for things that maybe because of the changing situations, maybe they were things that we would never have even thought of doing before that might really work for us. So the first thing we want to really lean into our intuition about in 2024 is work opportunities. The second is obviously related to that, because that's about working from home. And I don't just mean whether, when it's appropriate for you to work from home or not, but if you're working in one of those offices, there seems to be a lot of offices at the moment that are asking you to come into the office certain days, but other days it's fine. But you can choose maybe when you work in the office and when you don't. So you really want to lean into that, because where we are, where our body is in the world, sometimes it can be easy to forget in this mad era of social media that where our physical body is, that represents a lot of how opportunities find us. Because even if we do connect with people over the internet and stuff, there's nothing quite like having that face-to-face meeting with someone to really know if this is someone you want to work with, to really make opportunities really flourish. So those opportunities can sometimes come at the office because, I don't know, maybe you've never really met the big boss before, and maybe if you meet the big boss and you and they really connect, that might lead to opportunities. Or if you're working from home, and because you don't have to spend so much time on the commute, that might give you an opportunity to do some other activity that leads to further opportunities. So you want to really pay attention to your intuition about whether you want to be working from home that day or at the office, like where to put yourself at what time. Because where we are physically, that can have a big impact on what kind of synchronicities we experience. So that's the second thing. When to work from where. And so the third one is kind of like an extension on that. Because if your work, whether it's because maybe you are just work entirely on social media these days, or you can do all your work from a distance, or your work is such that you don't have to be in the office, you have to be in the office so rarely that you're able to be anywhere in the world effectively. In other words, you can be more of a digital nomad. So if you're one of those people who can be a digital nomad because of the nature of your work, well, where do you want to be in the world? If you literally could live anywhere you wanted to, where would you want to be? Because again, this can lead to synchronicities in your life, whether it's because you meet a new group of people, they could be expats, they could be locals. You don't know what could flow from those new connections, and you may never make those connections. Like if you decide to go and live in Bali as a digital nomad, or you decide to go and live in Europe as a digital nomad, like, because you are there and you are developing a new network of people, it could lead to all sorts of things in your life that you would never have experienced otherwise. So that's the third thing you want to lean into in your intuition. Not just when you want to work from home, but where do you want your home to be that you're going to be working from? So that's the third thing. So the fourth thing is about your health. Because at the moment, life is pretty stressful for a lot of us. So when I say your health, I mean about managing your stress. So you want to be able to really stay tuned into your well-being so that you can know how to manage your stress better. Like, what are the things that really serve your body, your physical well-being? I mean, obviously there are some signs that you might need to really focus on that, whether it's disturbed sleep or, there's lots of signs of stress from, having thoughts that are chasing around in your head, from feeling jittery to your appetite being affected, either increased or decreased, to all sorts of behaviors. So the more that you listen to your intuition around managing your stress, the less severe the stress will become, because your intuition will help you manage that better. So yeah, I mean, obviously whenever we are going through stressful times, we want to be able to lean into our intuition, because, as I keep saying, your intuition is there to help you be more of who you really are. And in many ways, stress is the opposite of that. Stress is the accumulation of things that are taking us away from who we really are. So it's becoming harder for us to be us. So by listening to our intuition, it will help us avoid, perhaps, or at least manage the things that are taking us away from who we really are. So that's the fourth thing. So the fifth thing is still on your health, but it's more on the positive side of it. So, as I said, stress is very much about taking us away from who we really are. Whereas when we're using our intuition to help our well-being, well-being is having more of those things in our life that physically support us to be who we really are. So the more we lean into those well-being things, the more that we use our intuition to tap into the things that really support our being more robust physically, the harder it is for us to get stressed in a way. I mean, you know this, it's like when you're feeling really on top of the world, it's going to take many more knocks to actually make you feel like life is getting a bit sucky. So by leaning into your well-being, you can really help yourself to increase your physical connection to who you really are, and therefore become more robust. And that has all sorts of benefits. Apart from not getting so stressed, it'll give you more energy to make the most of those opportunities when they come along. So what am I up to? Fifth thing, I think. So the sixth thing is actually looking forward. So setting yourself up for 2025. Now, okay, we're only halfway through the year, roughly. Why am I talking about that? Well, unfortunately, a lot of the indicators are that a lot of the sort of tricky things are going to be hanging around for a while, at least till the end of the year. Depending on certain factors, it might take a little bit longer. But essentially, whenever we go through chaotic times, one of the things that really helps us is if we can focus on the other side. It's a little bit like, well, the analogy that I often use is like when you're trying to swim across a river. If you have a sense of where you want to be on the other side when you get there, it gives you something to aim for. Even if the current sweeps you sort of a bit further down, well, then you can walk back up the other bank. It means that you've got a clear focus and you don't get so turned around in the current, which is often what happens. See, a lot of us, when we're going through chaotic times, we tend to focus on trying to put out this fire and then that fire and then this fire and then that fire, and it's exhausting. Whereas when we focus on what's on the other side, because what's on the other side is stable, it gives us a clear thing to focus on. And even though, yeah, sure, we still have to manage whatever's going on in the meanwhile, it is much simpler to have a positive outlook when we are focused on where we want to be once we get through this chaos. I guess an analogy, and perhaps a better analogy, would be when we, if you've ever been on a boat and you get a little bit motion sickness, they'll talk about you want to go up on deck and look at the horizon, find a fixed point, and with that fixed point, your system will then be able to make sense out of all the chaotic movements because you've got a stable reference point. So this is why you want to prepare yourself for 2025, or if you don't have any faith in 2025, maybe even think of 2030. Like, think about whatever it is for you. Like, once we get through this chaos, whatever it is, when we get to the other side, how do you want things to be for you? That's what you want to look at and focus on that, and do what you can to get yourself into alignment with that, and use your intuition, because the more you do that, the more you will get through the current chaos with a little bit of grace and ease. So that was the sixth thing, I think. Anyway, the seventh thing is when we're going through times of change, things are going to change. I mean, that is the nature of chaotic times. Some of the things you're not going to have control over, like, if something happens to your job, unless you work for yourself, of course, you don't have control of that. And even if you do work for yourself, I mean, sometimes your clients do things that you have no control over. But what you can do is do your best to think about, okay, some things in life are going to change. What is it that I would actually want to have change? So when some of those things do change, do your best to take it as a sign that, okay, this is an area of life that I want to change, or here's an opportunity to realign that part of my life so it's going to serve me better. Now, how do I want that to change? In other words, when life changes things, just, sometimes it almost seems random, we can either just feel like helpless and hopeless around it, which, just adds suckage to it. Or we can go, okay, so if this is actually not the end of my story, this is a really good way to think about it. if this is not the end of my story, if this is the beginning of my story. So when we are writing a book, they often talk about an inciting incident. So there's something that happens that starts the hero on their journey. So if this change has happened because really it's the start of an incredible adventure or a fabulous story or a wonderful new stage of life, what is that adventure going to be about? And by looking at that, you can start to take control, even if some things have impacted you that you weren't expecting. So by using your intuition around that, you can then start to really make the most of that. Sometimes you might even, by being using your intuition, because you're accepting that changes are coming, because it's the nature of the times, by using your intuition, you might even get some kind of like heads up, a little bit of a sense of it coming, but ahead of time, and therefore be ready for it, so that you already know what this new adventure is going to be for you. So there you are. So I've kind of lost track of what I'm up to. I think I'm up to number 8. Hang on, that's 8. So when we're talking about 8, a lot of the times when we're talking about intuition, we're talking about big things. We're talking about relationships or finances or where we're living and things. But in many ways, one of the best ways to develop our intuition is in the small ways, because they are smaller, they don't necessarily obviously matter so much. They don't have such large significance. And as a consequence, we can often end up hearing our intuition more clearly, because we're not putting so much charge, so much importance on it working out right. And because of that, we can just let our intuition be what it is. So one of the things that we can do in 2024 is listen to our intuition around new hobbies, or how we're working with our old hobbies, like those little things, little projects that we just do to entertain ourselves. It can be as simple as, okay, I want to find a new show. Listen to your intuition and see where it leads you. Because it isn't just that it can create a lot of really fun new things, but it can, if you really start to observe, how does that feel? Like when I had that intuition, when I knew that show was going to really be for me, how did that feel on the inside? How did that feeling line up internally? So by listening to our intuition around the small things, we can get clearer on our intuition itself. And that can be really helpful when we come later on to the bigger things. So there you are, that's number 8 with your new hobbies. Then number 9 is looking for new ways to express yourself. So that could be new creativities. It could be actually new ways, literally, in expressing yourself, like new ways in communicating. Communication and self-expression is so important, because our intuition is so much about us being who we really are. And we can do that when we're by ourselves. But if we're going to share who we really are with the world, we need to express who we really are, whether that's through the way we talk, whether it's through creating little videos, or creating artwork, or building a new fence. Whatever we do in life, we can do it as a self-expression. And in the coming era of AI, this is actually going to become even more important, because AI is very derivative. Obviously, it can copy things that have been done before. But the one thing that it isn't you. Your unique self-expression is unique to you. Nobody sees the world exactly the way that you do. No one expresses things exactly the way that you do. So the more that you lean into your own self-expression, not only will there be a sense of satisfaction about that, and not only will that then enable other people to connect to you in more authentic ways and in ways that are actually going to support you more, but it could be really important as we move forward into this AI area. And then the 10th and final way that it's, would be good to lean into your intuition in 2024 is in new learnings. Because when we're looking at chaos and things starting again, and how is my life going to look now that, so much stuff is changing, well, those new learnings, I mean, sure, you can do something like take up a new language or something, because that might end up making it easier for you to move countries or something. But by new learnings, I mean learning anything that helps you become the version of you that you want to be, which ultimately really is what you want to do. Well, you want to do it in 2024, you want to do it every year, is to focus on not just who you are today, who you want to appreciate because you're brilliant, but also on, well, what is a new version of me? How can I be an even more brilliant version of myself? How can I be more happy, more fulfilled, healthier? How can I take those steps towards more of who I truly am? And usually, because becoming who we truly are involves, well, not just giving up who we're not, but it often involves learning new skill sets. Because if we're going to become who we truly are, in a strange way, we have to learn how to be that new version of ourselves. And sometimes that can be simply learning how to have a different relationship with ourselves. Sometimes it can involve learning tangible new skills. So whatever those skills are that support you to be a newer, better, brighter version of yourself, you want to learn to do those. And doing it now in 2024 is as good a time as any. So there you are. There are 10 things to focus your intuition on in 2024. So I hope that helps, and I hope that helps you have a brilliant rest of the year and an even more brilliant 2025. And until we get to 2025, of course, remember that you're brilliant.